just look around. You got the mountains, you got the most beautiful city in the whole entire country. The university is absolutely, looks like it's out of a storybook. It's just beautiful. People are incredibly genuine and extremely nice. It's just a place that obviously I'd want my kids to go to school. And it sells itself. You don't have to sell anything about this place. You just got to get them here. You know, the old field of dreams. Yeah. Build it and they will come. It's already built.
Yeah, I didn't sign any mustard bottles or golf balls. Maybe wish I had had a golf ball that night, you know what I mean? But I'm only kidding. All right.
It was very casual. We were just kind of walking off the field, and he was like, "So what you gonna do?" I said, "I'm gonna come back next year." He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm excited. Let's go to Atlanta." And I was like, "Yes, sir. Let's make it happen."
But Tennessee Volunteers, Knoxville Stadium, Neyland Stadium. I've never heard a stadium that loud. They were loud for no reason, and they sung Rocky Top Tennessee 46 times. They sung the song so much that I started singing the song myself. I was like, you know, Rocky Top Tennessee, woo, VOLS, 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 Vols. I don't know what got into me. When you go into Neyland Stadium, it's like they take a part of your soul. When they scan your ticket, it's just like they take a part of your soul. They put a chip in your body or something. Because I walked in there, it was 100,000 people. 100. You know how the rappers say we walked in there 40 deep, but it was only like 5 of them. No, hell no. It was 200,000 people in Neyland Stadium. And I don't like the color just all orange and white. I think that shit looks stupid, right? You walk into the stadium, it's so much orange and white. It's so many white people in there tanned. It's so much orange and white in that stadium. You get, and then they mascot got a blow up gator. They mascot had a blow up alligator in the corner of the end zone, and then he would throw the gate up, and then he'll do the rock elbow every time he drop on the damn fake gator. Go oh, in the crowd. There's not a bad seat in the house. And my Gators almost came back. But when I tell you those people are the nicest, mean people I've ever seen. Like one lady in her 1940s, she had to be 87 years old because I saw a little bit of her Depends hanging out. She shot a bird at me. Then the next time I looked at her, she was like, what? It wasn't me. Go Gators. You mother... I ain't gonna cuss because my mama probably watching. What I'm trying to say is, I'm hurt. I want to apologize. I want to apologize to all the mean stuff I said to all the Knoxville, Tennessee fans. I'm man enough to
The pride of the Southland band crisply marches into the Giant T. The rear, the roar of 97,000 fans rises with each rhythmic step. In the background, George Beatsis is singing Fight Balls Fight. The orange and white shakers flood the air. The Volunteers are ready at the north end of the football field to burst through the gate. They're coming now, racing onto the field through the Giant T. In that magic moment that says, wherever you are, it's football time in Tennessee.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Got my wingman, Gabriel Isaac, with me. What's up, Gabriel?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you, Boogie?
Doing good, man. It's the Talkin VAWLS morning show. You guys asked for it, so I yelled at Gabriel. I said, you want to jump on? He's been on the fan call-in show a few times. And Gabriel's like, yeah, I'll set my alarm clock and get up. That clip right there was from Josh Prey. He's with Barstool Sports. I know a lot of you guys have already seen that. I thought that was the picture-perfect way to start this show. We're going to talk a little bit about that Florida, not go in-depth too much, but just talk about where this football team is at. See a lot of people that are being negative, and I think we need a reminder of where this football team was at less than 2 years ago and where they're at right now. Sometimes it's okay to just celebrate success. We don't have to nitpick and criticize everything that happens, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about Hendon for Heisman, maybe touch on LSU. Let's run down the chat, see who's hanging out with us bright and early on this Monday morning. Mountain Doom is in the house, says it's great to be a Tennessee ball. Yeah, look, I wanted... You know, some people, you go through the weekend, you got to wake up on Monday and work. Let's continue the momentum. Let's continue to celebrate this football team. Chase Tidwell is in the house. Austin Hannah Weather is here, reminding everybody for me to go ahead and smash that like button. We would appreciate it. Matthew Wilson is here. Bow Hunting 101 says, good morning, everybody. Dragon 423 is, Dragon? I don't know. What? Mr. 423 is in the house. What's up, my man? Let's see. Who else? What do we got here? What do we got? Let me scroll down. Let me get caught up with everybody. You guys enjoying that morning clip What a great way to start the show. Wingo VFL becomes a member of the channel. Thank you for the support. We appreciate that. Talkin VAWLS Elite. If you know, you know. We appreciate that. You got access to those custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, fan call-in shows. Who knows? Maybe you'll end up hosting a morning stream with me. That's what happens when you come on the fan call-in show and win some people over. John Hill for 10. Thank you for the super chat. Says, let's get rid of the COVID zone defense. 6 yards away from the nearest receiver. Tighten up the corners and let's go, Big Orange. Thank you, John. We appreciate that tip in the old tip jar. Papa T is here. What's up, Papa T? Long time no see in the chat. Good to see you hanging out. Get your ticket, Papa T says. He's always trying to get people on the hype train. I love seeing Papa T in the chat. Aiden Stills becomes a member of the channel, also at the elite level. We appreciate that. If you want to join the channel, hit that join button down below. You can give as little as 99 cents a month or all the way up to $10 a month. We appreciate the support either way. Look, we'll bring you more of these morning streams. We got almost 200 people watching right out of the gate. Guys, hit the thumbs up, quick and easy. Get it done early and share this thing out. Nobody knew we were going live. I decided last night to do another morning stream. So hit share. Takes 2 seconds. We would appreciate it. Gabriel, let's talk about this Florida game. Let's just talk about the current status of this program because, again, we look back less than 2 years ago where we were. Jeremy Pruitt fired, rock bottom. We're talking about 5-6 year rebuild. Now here we are, 4-0. Tennessee ranked number 8 in the AP poll. First time since 2016 they've been in the top 10, and this is the highest they have been ranked. You got to go back to 2006 after they beat South Carolina. The highest they has been ranked. Man, we're getting close to 20 years. This football team is doing special things early this year.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, like I said, it hasn't been in my lifetime really that they've been at this point. I mean, the last time they were at number 8 in the AP poll, I was 4 years old. You know what I mean? So that's how long it's been that we've had this caliber of a football team. So it's huge. I mean, you saw the turnout in Knoxville. You know what happens when Tennessee, or to quote Coach Josh Heupel, when Rocky Top is back. That's what Rocky Top is. You know what I mean? It's a massive thing for our program. Just to start September 4-0, you know, I mean, no matter what happens for the rest of the season, this wasn't supposed to be a season, like you said, that Tennessee goes 10-2 and goes to a New Year's Six bowl. This wasn't necessarily supposed to be a season that Tennessee goes 9-3. It wasn't supposed to be that. Like last season, we exceeded expectations by going 7-5 in the regular season. You know, we weren't expected to even make a bowl game. You know, so this year we were coming into the season going, well, 7-5 would be, I guess, okay. 8-4 would be awesome. But now we're 4-0 at the end of September with a bye week, then going on the road to LSU, which is a winnable game. And, you know, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we got the rest of the season in front of us, and that's the beauty of being 4-0 is you get to look ahead and say, oh, man, what could be? We're not 2-2. We're not 3-1. We're 4-0, and anything is possible at this point.
Aaron Duck in the chat says, after this, we got to get at least 8 wins. I think, you know, and what I do when we do these morning shows on Monday, I always turn on Eric Kane while I'm getting the stream set, getting some notes together. And I was listening to Eric Kane this morning, and he kind of said the same thing. He said, you know, 8 wins almost becomes the floor now. And that's why September was so important. You know, that Pitt game, and that's why I get so frustrated. And don't get it twisted. Like, there's nothing wrong with criticizing the play in the secondary, criticizing the play calling. You know, you always ask questions if things need to be questioned, but at the same time, it just feels like so much doom and gloom. We need to step back and realize where we're at. Like you said, Gabriel, we're 4-0 right now with an opportunity to do something special this year in a year where Tennessee was not necessarily, like I said, we were looking at 7 wins. If they went 7-5, what was your mindset going to be coming out of the season? Are you thinking, man, that's a disappointment? That's why, you know, my prediction was 8-4, and I felt like that was a step in the right direction. And we talked all offseason how this football team, their goal is Atlanta. It's always been Atlanta, and it doesn't matter what we as fans sit here and say. But again, 4-0, celebrate where this team is at. A big-time win against Pitt on the road. Big-time win against Florida at home. Look, the atmosphere, Checker Neyland, game day. The spotlight was on these kids on Saturday, and I love that Josh Heupel almost went the opposite direction. He told these kids, enjoy the moment. When you're going through the ball walk, look around, soak it in, see what you've got. And then when you run through that tee, look up into the stands, man. Enjoy, embrace the moment. This is a big-time moment. Embrace it, get to the sideline, clear your mind, and get ready to go to work. Yeah. And that's what this football team did. And you got to remember how big those wins are. I don't care if they played their worst football game ever. People talking about, Anthony Richardson, what a big game he had. Yeah, he did. He brought his best. That was his best performance of his career. And Gabriel, it wasn't good enough. It didn't matter. Tennessee got the W.
No, it didn't. I mean, that is the incredible thing, right? Is like Florida sold out to give every opportunity they could to even keep it close. And for a while, it wasn't. At the end there, they made a heroic effort. But it's true. Like, they played their best football, and it still wasn't good enough. I mean, to me, it's just, it is a big game. Like, again, Pitt week, we learned that wins don't just come easy. You don't win a football game just because you're supposed to. You know what I mean? Florida, it's the same deal. Oklahoma lost to Kansas State. Bet they didn't see that their season going that way. You know what I mean? Arkansas lost to Texas A&M, and technically Texas A&M was favored by 2 points in that game. But, Arkansas was largely viewed as the team to beat Alabama in the West, and now that's not really a thing anymore. If Texas A&M can give Alabama a challenge, so wins like this don't just come easy just because you're supposed to win. People that have been nitpicking and complaining, man, I'm like, how do you do that? We just beat Florida. Yes, they almost beat us, but how many football games do you see that happening where a team controls late and the other team pushes them at the end? And I mean, that shows the strength of our team to be able to hold on and to be able to make those plays at the end to close it out, which is another thing Tennessee teams haven't been able to do. That was the worst thing about our 2015 and 2016 teams. They could not close out games to save their life.
YouTube guy here says, we ain't getting close to beating Bama or Georgia if we keep leaving receivers wide open every single drive. See, he's screaming. Love YouTube guy, always in the chat. But this is the type of stuff that I'm seeing. People aren't celebrating the win against Pitt. They aren't celebrating the win against Florida. They're immediately going to the Georgias and the Bamas and saying, we can't compete with them. No kidding. It's year two. Let's celebrate where we're at with big-time wins. Like Gabriel said, you found a way to get it done. This team has not done that. They've not done that in recent history. Papa T in SC for $20. That ain't cheap. Thank you, Papa T. Says, Boogie, do you believe in Coach Hype? A genuine culture and player development is huge reason why we are where we are. 4-0, number 8 in the AP, beating Florida, beating 2 top 25 teams, and Ramel Keaton's play. GBO 9-3 or 10-2 is where Papa T's at. Exactly. I mean, yeah. Look at all that. Like, read the end of Papa T's super chat there. If I told you 2 years ago when Jeremy Pruitt was fired and Josh Heupel was hired, and nobody, so many people were critical of the hire. Now everybody, most people seem to be in alignment with Josh Heupel being the head football coach at Tennessee. But if I told you on that day when he was hired that in year 2 we would be 4-0, ranked 8th in the country, we would have beat Florida, we would have beat a top 20 Pitt team on the road, there's no way you say that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Come on. Right. We're exactly where we want to be. We need to celebrate it.
Exactly. And I mean, people are acting like, I feel like a lot of people are acting like, like 98, our championship year, we dominated every game. I wasn't there, but I know as well as anybody that it took multiple miracles to win the games we needed to that season. You know what I mean? How is this any different? Finding a way to win and, putting it away on the last play if we need to put another number in the win column. It's just weird. I mean, is it a residual Bader-Vol syndrome symptom to just be like, no, I can't accept it. I can't. It's like it's not real. So you got to find every reason to criticize,
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, if Tennessee goes and does something, if they go and 10-2. Crazy. Let's go top of the top. 10-2. Well, I shouldn't even say that. Feels like 98. Let's just run the table and go undefeated. Realistically, they go 10-2, 9-3. You don't look back years later and say, man, you remember that Florida game when Josh Heupel should have got aggressive down the stretch and instead he chewed the clock and they got the – no, you look back and you say, hey, do you remember that game where Hendon Hooker became a legend when they beat Florida and Hendon Hooker threw for almost 350 yards, had 2 touchdowns. He ran for over 100 yards, had a touchdown on the ground. Do you remember that game when Hendon Hooker became a legend? That's what you talk about after the fact. You don't look back and nitpick. And look, I get it. Right. I can play devil's advocate here because a lot of times on post-game shows, we get on here and get critical and people yell at me for the same reason I'm yelling at the chat. Not even the chat, just people in general. Samuel Reiner, Custom Knives were 2. Thank you for the super chat. Can't see too many other teams winning that game. You know, at the end of the day, all that matters is that you just go win. And you look, when you look at the schedule moving forward, and again, what was your expectation for this year, for year 2, for Josh Heupel? What were you expecting? And when you look at the schedule and you got through September was so crucial. And, you know, coach speak, right? Coach speak. The most important game is always the next game. And for me, when I broke down this schedule, my losses were Alabama, LSU, and Georgia. But now you're going on the road to play LSU in 2 weeks. You got a bye week to heal up. And you've also got an extra week for Josh Heupel and Alex Golish to come up with a little something on offense. But hopefully Tim Banks dials in that defense more importantly. But you got an opportunity to be able to go beat LSU and make a statement. 5-0 with Alabama coming to town. You got a chance.
Yeah, I hate that Brent Hubbs ended up being right on the whole defense thing. I do think they should have kept it dialed up and put pressure on Anthony. I mean, that's how we won the game at the end, literally, by putting that pressure on him finally. And, you know, I think I've heard a lot of people say, though, that was legitimately Tennessee's plan. It was like, okay, we're going to hang back and we're going to make him throw it. We did see him miss a lot of those throws. So maybe it's a fair game plan, but, you know, LSU is a big one. I mean, to me, it definitely seems like a scary one because I feel like we could get a little too cocky if we're not careful because LSU should be ranked. LSU is a solid football team, especially some of the teams that are up in the top 20. LSU is you know, literally underrated. So, you know, going into the Swamp, it's going to be a tough game, but what point do you prove if you go into the, you know, self-proclaimed toughest place to play in the country and you get that W? You know, national media is already starting to take notice and take Tennessee seriously. How much more seriously do they take Tennessee when we're 5-0 heading into the Alabama game in Neyland? That is going to be, you thought the Florida game was big. That is going to be another level.
And it's, again, the coach speak of the next game's the most important, but you can see the writing on the wall if they do go down there to LSU and get a win. Then you go into that Alabama game with a ton of freaking confidence, in that Alabama game. And then you just keep throwing out the what ifs. What if they go and they compete and they beat Alabama? Then where are you at? You're going to be ranked in the top 5, maybe top, you know, you might be the second-ranked team in the country. And I think this football team can truly compete with anybody in the country. And, yes, they didn't play perfect against Florida. They didn't, but they won. You know, you got to dial in the defense. Like you said, I want to see Tim Banks be more aggressive. I think that's the way to go. But Takeo Spikes, he's on the SEC Network, SEC Football Final, and they were kind of breaking down the games on Saturday evening. And he ranked the SEC, he ranked Tennessee second behind only Georgia. He's got Tennessee being a better football team than Alabama. All the national media is praising Tennessee. I don't understand why so many people in our fan base just aren't celebrating and excited about where we're at. And I don't know. I don't know what the deal is.
It's I don't know. It's weird. Again, I think it's just like, you know, it's just kind of skepticism until we really see something, because I think a lot of people don't want to buy in and get excited for us to drop, you know, 5 of the last 7 games and then go, you know, 7-5 or something like we saw in 2016, where we started the season 5-0 and then ended up being whatever we were 8-4, with horrible losses to South Carolina and Vanderbilt. You know, like this season, you don't lose to South Carolina, Missouri, or Vanderbilt. You don't do that. You just don't. But I think that I do think that's kind of wise, because, you know, our immediate instinct is to go, oh no, we survived this time. Next time it might not be so easy. So, I guess just looking ahead, I could understand the skepticism, but at the same time, man, these are college kids, these are kids that are my age that are going out there and playing football with the whole nation watching, 102,000 people in that stadium, cheering for them. And that's big. And, they're not going to be perfect, but, you got to celebrate these kids going out there and beating a team that Tennessee has only beat 3 times in 20 or 18 or 20 years. So.
And when you look at the schedule, again, pull it back up and talk about it. Let's say they do lose to LSU and they do lose to Alabama. And, I don't know if some of this fan base starts to fall apart at that point, but you got to look at the back end of the schedule. And that's, again, when I made my predictions of 8-4, that's why September was so crucial, because going on the road and playing LSU, and hopefully that game ends up being a day game at 3:30. And it's possible, because I think I was reading on VolQuest on the message boards, and when you read the message board, you never know 100% what's real, what's not. Alabama and Texas A&M play that day too, but CBS has 2 games. CBS is doing a 3:30 game and a night game. So do they want Alabama, Texas A&M for that night game, which would then slide Tennessee LSU at 3:30, which would be a huge advantage for Tennessee. You don't want to play LSU in a night game, but we'll see what ends up happening there. But again, let's say you drop the LSU game, you drop the Alabama game. Now you're 4-2, but UT Martin, that's a win. Kentucky, that's going to be a dogfight. I've said that all year. That's a toss-up game. Kentucky's a good football team. Anybody that's mad that Kentucky is ranked ahead of Tennessee, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to be able to settle it on the field. But Kentucky's a really good football team. It is what it is. Then you've got Georgia. That could be your 4 losses right there: LSU, Alabama, Kentucky, and Georgia. Missouri, not a very good football team. South Carolina, everybody knows I've been beat up to death for saying that they were going to be better than they are. They're not a good football team. They're not, and we're going to know even more by the time we get to November how bad South Carolina is. But, Gabriel, that right there gets you your 8-4. You beat UT Martin, Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. There's your 8-4. Now, can you go get one? Can you go steal one from LSU or Georgia on the road, or can you get Alabama? Can you catch Alabama slipping? That's a huge one, and also Kentucky's going to be a dogfight. Can you go find that 9th game on that schedule?
Well, that is the question, like what out of these 4 games – can you go out and win? I think LSU and Kentucky are the most possible. I think Tennessee just has a better matchup with those teams. I still, again, it is the skeptic in me that it's just hard for me to say that we are going to beat Alabama or Georgia, but Alabama always seems to trip up against us. You've seen we have arguably had some legitimate opportunities to beat Alabama in the last 10 years. And so, I won't say it's not possible, but Alabama it's Alabama, right? You don't want to say, oh man, I feel good about our chances of beating Alabama, because you just don't know what's going to happen until we get on that stadium. But coming into the season, I felt like there were 4 toss-up games. It felt like it was like Pitt, Florida, LSU, and Kentucky. Well, now we're 2-0 in those toss-up games. Now it kind of feels like there's 4 toss-up games again. It feels like LSU, Alabama, Kentucky, Georgia. So it's hard. Again, BVS says that we could lose all 4. This team is very mentally tough. I think a lot of people, if you beat LSU, I think you get a good chance, even if you lose to Alabama and Georgia, of going, hosting Kentucky and, beating them up too, despite the fact that they're a good team. So I don't know. It's so hard to speculate, because you say one thing and it turns out to be the other, but I guess we'll find out. That's the question that needs to be answered by the team themselves here in the coming weeks.
It's funny you talking about Alabama and how they slip up against us, and there's been a couple of times where that's been a close football game, but good teams win close games, and that's why I'm so encouraged with this 2022 football team, because they found a way to win that close game against Pitt. They found a way to win a close game against Florida. Look, that Florida game, I know Tennessee was up 17, and you're really confident right there. And just the way it played out down the stretch, the scoreboard's closer than the game actually was. But again, you found a way to win, and it's nice The shoe is on the other foot in that Florida game. You go into the Florida game favored by 10.5. You've got Billy Napier doing the interview at halftime saying, the game plan, we just wanted to be in it at the half. That moral victories. Their fans on Twitter, like, it took everything in my power. I try not to engage other fan bases.
Right.
But all this stuff is popping up in my timeline, and they're talking about moral victories and blaming the refs. And that's where we have been in previous years, always making an excuse, always blaming somebody else. And coming out on the wrong side of things. Now the shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah, and what's funny is I watched his post-game press conference, and man, he was depressed. That was a man defeated. He was not okay. But he listed off all the moral victories and then said no moral victories. He was like, well, but no moral victories. And I was like, well, you just listed off every single moral victory you possibly could, as an excuse. Billy Napier, I don't know. He was, like you've said multiple times, he was coaching scared. He was scared, and he even hurt his team at times, getting out there on the field and chewing out the refs. I mean, he looked like a fool out there. I think I felt a little bad for him afterwards, just because he's a football coach and he loves it, and he gave his all, and he was so defeated afterwards. But that's what happens when you say, oh, this game's going to be a little louder, and that's what happens when you walk into Neyland Stadium, not cocky, but just kind of indifferent to Tennessee's fan base. We're going to let you know.
Yeah, he would have been way better off to say, look, Tennessee's got a great fan base. They're going to be loud. We're preparing for it. We'll try to be ready.
Yeah, like everyone else says.
Yeah, but it's just like it's just another stadium. It's like you don't think. And some people are like, Boogie, he didn't really say anything. He really didn't say too much, but you don't think this fan base is going to take it and run with it and make it the biggest thing in the world? Anything we can to create more hostility when they come to town, that's what we do. That's why our fan base is so great. We got almost 300 people watching live on this Monday morning. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Do us a favor, if you haven't hit that thumbs up, make sure you do smash it. Look, that is quick, free, and easy. You guys know the catchphrase. If you like what we do, if you're here on a Monday morning, just hit the thumbs up. We would appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, you're wondering what this is. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. We're not talking to you. We're talking with you, hanging out, talking a little Tennessee football. We're not media. We're not experts. Look. Got a bunch of video games. Gabriel's got guitars hanging in his background. We're not media. This is for the fans, by the fans. Also, go check out our merch. You can go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. You guys demanded these Buck Family shirts, limited edition. Going to be gone soon and gone forever, so go get one before they're gone. Again, for the fans, by the fans. You guys tell me what to do. I do it. So you can go check out those limited edition. If you don't like that style, we got all kinds of different designs, but we do appreciate any and all support. Thank you to all the members of the channel. You see those guys with power tees, guys and girls in the chat. They got power tees beside their name. Why? How do they get that? What do they do? Well, you can become a member of the channel. Hit the join button down below. It's right beside subscribe. It's as little as 99 cents if you want to give a little bit more. Basically a way of saying, look, all this content is free. I don't have to pay for it. It's free, but I want to support what you guys do. You can join the channel. If not, just hang out and talk Vol football. You don't have to do anything. But I do try to highlight member comments. You guys see them pop up on the screen like that. I do try to catch the members when we get a chance. Let's talk a little bit about this LSU game. We touched on it briefly there. Going to get into it a little bit more. Let's see here. Let me go pull up the game summary. This is something we looked at going into the Florida game. The analytics and the numbers from the ESPN FPI prediction. And people said, Boogie, that doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter because it's about 75% accurate across the board overall. You can see right now they've got LSU at 59.1% favored to beat the Vols. We'll see what the spread is. I saw somebody in the comments saying 2 touchdowns. There's no way that LSU is going to be favored by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go out on a limb. I think this game is a toss-up. And again, you see the percentages there, how close they are. When you look back to the Florida game, it had Tennessee at like 87%. So that's a big difference compared to 59%. I think LSU is going to be favored by a field goal because it is at home. Baton Rouge, tough place to play. What do you think, Gabriel?
Yeah, ESPN's FPI is kind of weird this week. I don't know if you saw, Texas actually jumped to number 6, even though they lost to Texas Tech. That was weird. LSU is at number 7 or 8, I think, in front of us. So ESPN's FPI really likes LSU. They have a really, really stiff defense. like a really stiff defense. You look at the numbers, and it's pretty crazy, to match Tennessee's offense. So I can see why maybe ESPN, because it's not just who's the better team, right? It's about the matchups. So I could see how ESPN thinks that maybe this is a bad matchup for Tennessee. LSU's offense isn't necessarily electric, but if their defense manages to hold our offense down, then it's a dangerous game. I would say it's hard to once the spread comes out, it's hard to say. It's going to be hard for Vegas to put LSU points wise ahead of Tennessee, in my opinion, just because if Tennessee's offense does get going, again, it's really just a matter of no matter how well the defense does, can LSU keep up, go punch for punch with Tennessee's offense, and I don't think they can. So I think it's going to be really hard for Vegas to put LSU ahead of Tennessee, no matter what the FPI says.
That's what when you go down here and look at team stats, and LSU's defense, pretty dang good, only giving up 14.3 per game. You can see there. But Tennessee scoring 48.5, and that's the thing. You saying you don't think LSU can go punch for punch with Tennessee? I think that's what gives us an advantage with Josh Heupel, his style of play. And I don't know if Tim Banks is going to be the guy to coach the defense or not. I think the jury is still out on that one. I like when they get aggressive. I think we need to see more of that aggressive defense. But to go back to what you said there, I just don't – there are not many teams in the country that can go toe-to-toe in a shootout with Tennessee and keep up. And that's why, that Florida game, you just had so much confidence because the offense was just marching up and down the field. Yeah. Mark Wilson for 5, thank you for the super chat. Billy Napier is representing my hometown of Cookeville, Tennessee, poorly. Very strange seeing my hometown on ESPN. Yeah, I thought it was funny. He was talking about all his family that's Tennessee fans. They were sick to their stomach wearing Florida shirts inside of Neyland Stadium. Yeah, sorry that he's representing you bad, Mark. Thank you for the super chat. Something else I like about LSU is they play Auburn on the road this week. So they've got a tough game ahead of them. Auburn, say what you want. They're not the Auburn of old, but it's still going to be a tough football team going on the road. And then you got Tennessee at home, and then you follow that up by going on the road against Florida. Yeah. So they've got a gauntlet coming up. After that, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas. They got a murderer's row on the schedule coming up. And Tennessee, again, and if we were media, if we were professional, if we prepared and didn't just jump on here like we're drinking beer with our buddies on the back porch, I would have the numbers and see what Josh Heupel looks like after a bye week. But you got to like that he's going to have something dialed up and planned for LSU.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really think that extra week to prepare is going to be huge for Tennessee. I mean, it always is, but especially just to get guys healthy, to form a game plan against LSU. They're going to get to sit down and probably watch, if they're not out recruiting, probably watch the LSU-Auburn game on Saturday, see what looks they give them. Auburn, probably isn't going to win the game, but they might keep it close. At the same time, they have Auburn Jesus, so you never know what might happen with Auburn. We saw it against Missouri. Missouri literally, it's literally like there was like somebody with like a sniper on top of the stadium, just like, you know what I mean? Like every time something stupid would happen, it's like, got him. I mean, I can't even believe the ways they gave away that game, especially that last touchdown, the drop through the end zone. That was ridiculous. So
it should have never even got to overtime. I mean, that field goal was a chip shot. I think people were talking about it while we were live, and then I went back and watched the game, and it's like, man, like it really was a chip shot straight on. I was like, maybe it was at an angle. No, just straight on, almost an extra point. And then, like you said, in overtime, just fumble the ball into the end. All you got to do is – but how many times do we see guys do that, try to stretch the ball out, and then it costs you a game, man? Only do that on fourth down, but I get it. It's kids trying to make plays.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, it's going to be interesting to watch that game. I'm definitely going to watch that game this Saturday, just kind of take a look at LSU because I really haven't gotten a great look at them. But I know they're a solid football team. I mean, again, they are a better football team than what they're ranked. If Tennessee is number 8, LSU should be in the top 20. I truly believe that. I think that when they play Florida, they will beat Florida. I really do. I think they're going to be a pretty good team this year. I mean, they haven't just played nobody, even thus far. I know they just played like New Mexico State or whatever. But I don't know. It's an exciting matchup. I mean, Tennessee, LSU, two storied programs. I'm super excited to watch that go down.
Yeah, I got a lot of criticism in the offseason for saying that I expected Tennessee to lose to LSU and just putting over how difficult it is to go on the road there. But not just that, man. I know Brian Kelly and, what he did throwing his team under the bus after week 1. And probably some of that was probably blown out of proportion a little bit. But realistically, they should be undefeated. They should have won that Florida State game the way that went down at the end. But Daniels, man, Jaden Daniels scares me. He scares me the way he runs the football. And we've seen Tennessee struggle stopping running quarterbacks. And, Richardson didn't really have a field day. I've got the stats pulled up. What did he end up with running the ball? 62 yards. So he averaged.
Didn't have to.
Yeah, he didn't have to. And, plus you question the rumors of him having a lower body injury. Is he hurt? Is that why he's, wasn't running the ball as much? But Daniels is electric and dynamic. And he's not thrown an interception on the season.
Yep.
He's 81 out of 111, 835 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Pretty solid QB rating, 154. Yep. We'll look at QB stats here coming up in just a little bit as we talk about Hendon Hooker for Heisman. But again, Jaden Daniels leads LSU in rushing yards, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, averages 6 yards a carry. I just don't like that matchup with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how underrated I feel this team is, specifically Jaden Daniels. I mean, he hasn't been, I feel like, on all the guys, SEC top 5 QBs, I mean, KJ Jefferson's a good quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels is arguably better than him. I think he's played better than him. I think KJ Jefferson has a higher ceiling, but, I mean, again, this team is so underrated. Jaden Daniels is a guy that if we don't pay attention to can definitely torch us because, he doesn't have the struggles like Anthony Richardson does. He can throw it and we know he can run it too. It's not like, oh, well, we know he can run it, but if we make him throw it, there's a chance. Like, no, I hate to say it, but I think this is going to be an offensive game because we've seen how our secondary performs, they're not the best. It's just how it is. That's just the way it's going to be. So how do we respond to that offensively? How do we respond to that on the defensive line, our front 7, our linebackers? We gotta bring up a game plan to hopefully put him on the ground, get him in pressure situations, so that he can't sling it around. At the same time, he can't run. So it's a dangerous game. But the Tim Banks thing, going back to that real quick. I like Tim Banks. I don't think it's his fault that he doesn't have the talent he needs in the secondary. If there was legitimate talent, Kamal Hadden, our best corner, arguably gave up, 2 of the biggest plays for Florida yesterday, which was, he missed 2 tackles on that touchdown. that one, I can't remember which touchdown it was. That was pitiful. He missed 2 tackles. And then on that 4th and 3 inside their own freaking 30-yard line, he let Shorter just run straight past him and, just that got that deep ball there to him. I don't think it's Tim Banks' fault that we don't have the talent we need in the secondary. You look at his recruiting, we're bringing in guys, man. Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson. These are serious talents that he's bringing in. So I know people are going to disagree with me on that. But, again, it's year 2. They don't even have most of the guys that they're recruiting. Let Tim Banks bring guys in, give him a year or 2, and I guarantee you are going to see the secondary get better. Our defensive line and our linebackers have been insanely disruptive when they just bring pressure. This game, they just decided it was going to be better for them to lay back and try and make Anthony Richardson throw. Because it's true, Anthony Richardson could have had a horrendous game. He could have thrown 8 for 44 and 5 interceptions. It's just the way it went that he found his groove and was able to pick us apart. And we still ended up winning the game because at the end of the day, he still missed half of them and wasn't able to put together most of those plays that could have hurt us. So I think, Tim Banks is a football coach and we don't give him enough credit. just because our secondary is a little short on talent. And yeah, Rodney Garner as well. Rodney Garner we would regret letting Rodney Garner go. I promise you that. I mean, we would regret it so bad because he's a real coach. So
I don't. Brandon in the chat's really having
Brandon
a hard time. He's really not happy with some of the things that we're talking about. Look, man, you're not keeping Kevin Steele. Kevin Steele was a weasel. He was a snake in the grass that Fulmer brought in. Fulmer was trying to do a power grab and keep his guys in place and get his chess pieces ready, and all that backfired. Fulmer got fired. There's so much to that Kevin Steele thing that would make you sick. It was all politics. There's no way that he was staying on this coaching staff. But looking at the defense, I think because of what Josh Heupel's done with this offense, I mean, he came in and that offense went from a train wreck under Jeremy Pruitt to now we're at the top of the nation in scoring offense. So people immediately think that the defense should do the same thing, and that's not been the case. But I think we've got good coaches there. Like I said, I think the jury is still out on Tim Banks. I don't know if you can hear my dog. I'm about to go rip its vocal cords out. Like, it just does not stop barking. Anyway, I think the jury's still out on Tim Banks. I think we'll see whether he has success or not. But Rodney Garner, like you guys said, Rodney Garner hopefully will coach here until he retires because he is doing more with less on that defensive line. And you talk about recruiting. I mean, we're seeing Joshua Josephs make plays already in SEC games, in conference games. He is making plays, and he's only going to get better. James Pierce had a big sack against Akron last week. We're seeing him kind of come along. And look, James Pierce may have a higher ceiling than Joshua Joseph. Both I think are going to be special kids. Then you talk about bringing in Herring and Shandavion Bradley. I think the defensive line is going to be fine. We saw Omari Thomas make some plays on Saturday against Florida. You saw DeJoun Terry make some plays. That defensive line is going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine. But you look at the secondary, Willie Martinez. He's put a lot of guys to the league. He's put a lot of guys in the NFL. But we knew going into the season that the secondary was a weakness. We knew that. Nobody should be surprised. But again, I think because of the success we've seen Josh Heupel have on offense, Alex Golish have on offense, people want to see that defense be elite already. And it's going to take time. Like you said, Gabriel, it's year two.
Yeah, exactly. And, Brandon saying, our corners leaving, 10 yards of space. I think our corners really just, again, don't have that athleticism to close the space in zone. Just having that quick twitch to be able to make a play on the ball or on the receiver. I just don't think they have it. You look at Jalen McCullough and Trayvon Flowers, and they just can't take angles. Our safeties, our corners struggle with that too. I mean, we have two outside of Warren Burrell, who again, like a 75%, like on a grade, like can play good football, but is he a SEC starting defensive back? I don't really think so. But you look at these guys, and I just don't think they quite have that twitch. They quite have that speed and talent to be able to close that, because you see athletic defensive backs being able to play that zone and still being able to shut guys out. Again, I think that's why we need to give this defensive staff a chance. We need to give Tim Banks and Willie Martinez a chance. After their second year on this team, they haven't even gotten guys in here hardly, that they've wanted to recruit. We need to give them a chance to bring these guys in and see what we can do with them. And Xavier saying that we play too much zone. Again, it depends on the matchups, but maybe this defensive staff is aware that their corners may not be able to play man as well as they should be able to. So, we might get what we want, and they say, all right, we're going to run man this game, and then just get torched because our DBs just can't keep up with a lot of wide receivers very well. So, we don't know what goes on in practice and what those guys look like, but all I'm saying is give these guys a chance. Let's settle in. Let's watch this season play out, and let's watch these guys go win some more football games.
Did you like that comment? You're going to have to change your name on StreamYard to G Daddy.
G Daddy, I saw that.
Just stick with Gabriel to me.
Yeah,
okay.
I think I'll stick with this for now.
Dennis Garner for 10. Appreciate the super chat. Doesn't say anything. Just drops a tip in the old tip jar. Appreciate that, Dennis. Appreciate the super chats and the tips on this Monday morning show. You guys, the more support you show, the more more content we're going to bring you on in the morning show. Maybe Gabriel and Xavier will be the morning show wingmen. We'll see. The more content we can bring, the better. Glad you guys are enjoying this Monday morning stream. I was going to make a point. What was I going to say? You were talking about the secondary. I don't know that this defense has really found its identity yet. And it's like, are they going to be that aggressive in-your-face defense? Or talking about, them Brandon saying, why are you playing back so awkward? I'm reading his comment. He says, not Con awkward. Why are you playing back so soft? Why is there a 10-yard space? And I don't – it almost feels like at times this defense wants to be – don't let them get over our head. Keep them in front of us and wait for them to make a mistake. Wait for them to turn the ball over. On the flip side of that, let's get aggressive and let's stop waiting for them to make mistakes and force mistakes. And I've been saying this a lot on the post games, and I've got Dauber almost convinced of it. Screw it, man. Screw it if you get beat deep. Who cares? What does it matter if you play soft and they dink and dunk down the field and go score, or you play aggressive and you maybe force those turnovers? I think they had a picture-perfect opportunity to get after Anthony Richardson and didn't really take advantage of it. And you mentioned earlier, the last play of the game. What do you do when your back's against the wall and you need a stop? You freaking bring the house. You force him to make a horrible throw, and the ball game's over. So I think at this point we just need to realize our secondary is not that good. We knew that going in, but we're still questioning it. Just get after the quarterback, bring pressure, hope the back end holds up, and if not, trust in Hendon Hooker and this offense to counter and go score.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and exactly.
Knoxville Predator catcher for 5. Thank you for the super chat. You have to thank Coach Josh Heupel. Hits the recruiting trail with a great pitch. We are one great defensive recruiting class away from winning the SEC. That's so true. And I saw somebody mention earlier, too, when you're ranked in the top 10, when you're sitting at number 8 for a couple of weeks getting ready to take on LSU, you're going to have some success in the transfer portal. That's why, to me, it was so crucial to get to 8 or 9 wins. So you can sell, hey, nobody expected anything in year 1. We went out and won 7 games. Now, look, year 2, we showed progress. We need you. We need you, Mr. Cornerback. We need you, Mr. If we can just get you, then we'll have what we need in the secondary. Look, Rodney Garner's got our defensive line locked down. We're going to go score points. We just need some guys like you in here to make the difference. I think the more success you have, the easier it gets. We've seen it with Alabama and Georgia. That's why every single year, just top-ranked classes over and over and over. And once you have that success on the field, then you add in the success of Spire Sports Group and NIL. That's when Tennessee is officially back. Josh Heupel said Rocky Top's back. I've been teasing it for a while. I think they're right on the verge of being back. And I know the win against Florida was big, but you put it in the rearview mirror and you start moving forward. Now you go beat LSU on the road. Guess what? That win is huge. Then you look at Alabama. We got Rolly SZN season for 5. Thank you for super chat. Coach Josh Heupel is 3-0 after bye with last year and 17-18 at Central Florida. So there you go, undefeated after a bye week. Let's go take care of business.
What does that put us 7-0 going into what would that be? Going into Kentucky or Georgia?
Well, if you're 3-0 after a bye, so that's giving you the 5-0 after LSU. You'd be 5-0 with Alabama coming to town.
Oh, 3-0 after the.
Yeah.
I thought they were saying like three games,
3 straight wins.
Yeah, after the. Okay. No, I got you.
No, I think he's saying 3-0.
I was about to say that would be.
That can't be accurate. No, it would be because he coached 3 years at Central Florida, so that can't be accurate.
Yeah.
Now we got 6-0 in the chat. I don't think any of that is accurate. See, again, we're not media. We're not professionals. We don't have this information ready. Dubas Buncher for $50. Dubas Buncher is saying, I want more morning streams, and I know Boogie is obsessed with Super Chats. This is how I make him do more morning streams. That ain't cheap. We got to play the clip if I can find it. If I can only find the clip, we'll play the clip.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man.
Thank you for the super chat, Doofus Puncher. $50 is not cheap. We've landed the punches necessary so far. And that goes back to the very beginning of the show, how we started this show. The bottom line is you are 4-0. That's where you needed to be. That's where you expected to be. That's where you wanted to be. Nothing else matters. You got some things to clean up and fix, but the bottom line is you're 4-0. You're ranked in the top 10. It is what it is. Who's trolling? Why is the chat always fighting with each other? We're trying to have some fun, talk about Tennessee football with our friends, and the chat is always having World War III in the chat while the show is going on, and I never understand what's going on. I never understand who is yelling at who and why. But look, it's time for the main event. We're going to go about an hour today. We're about 50 minutes into this thing. The title of the video is Hendon Hooker for Heisman. And again, I told you guys, I kind of laughed because I said at the top of the show, I said going into this thing, when I set up the morning streams, I typically like to listen to Eric Kane. I like to listen to Talkin VAWLS. I get up, set up the stream, listen to him, get my notes together, what I'm going to talk about for the day. And Eric Kane said this morning, he's like, it's too early to be talking about Heisman Trophy as I'm typing in Talkin VAWLS morning stream, Hendon Hooker for Heisman. So I got a good laugh at that. But I don't think it's too early. I've been talking about it in the offseason. You know, I was expecting Hendon Hooker to do big things. Here we are 4 weeks in. And there's this tweet that came out from RG3, which, man, you talk about battered Vol syndrome. I was a Redskins fan for the longest time. I finally just gave up on the NFL. So anytime I see RG3, it just breaks my heart and crushes my soul. But RG3 tweets out, Hendon Hooker is the runaway Heisman favorite after today's performance. And that's the thing about it is, when you talk about Heisman Trophy candidates winning the Heisman Trophy, yeah, maybe it's about stats, but it's about wins and losses, and it's also, Gabriel, about big-time moments. And the moments don't get much bigger than Florida coming to town, top 20 matchup, Checker Nealon, College Game Day, Josh Pate's in the house, Barstool Sports is in. Everybody was talking about Tennessee, Florida on Saturday, and Hendon Hooker goes out with an absolutely legendary performance. The fact that he was holding his shoulder in the first half, beat up, banged up, getting hit, knocked around, throws for 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, 112 yards on the ground and a touchdown. He put this team on his back. That's the type of performances when you think of Heisman Trophy candidates.
Exactly, and you talk about the moments, right? You got to have those Heisman moments, and I don't see much better of a moment in yesterday's game than that 40-yard scramble. You know, that's the stuff you see on the highlight reels that really sets you apart. You know, I mean, it looked Josh Dobbs, it looked Lamar Jackson, it looked. I mean, that juke he put on. I mean, Princeton Fant, first of all, needs to get big credit on that play. He got like 3 blocks on that play, but I mean, every time Hendon runs the ball, I love watching it. But yeah, you talk about those moments. He's had some big ones, and I think runaway Heisman favorite is a little dramatic from RG3, but as a former Heisman winner himself, you know, you got to kind of appreciate his take. You know, I think Hendon Hooker, if Tennessee just plays their ball, even if they lose to, you know, Alabama, Georgia, I think he could seriously be in the discussion. I think his only real threat right now is CJ Stroud at Ohio State. You know, they're putting up basically, very similar numbers to Tennessee, and, you know, they play their fair share of competition as well. So I don't know. I fully agree that if Tennessee just finishes out the season, even if we lose to, you know, Alabama, Georgia, maybe even if we drop a close game at Kentucky, you know, he's still going to be sitting there as a finalist. We just hope there's not like a Michigan defensive back in the finalists as well to take it from him. Yeah, no doubt. And a lot of people always bring that up and say if Peyton didn't win the Heisman, nobody's ever going to win it. Travis McLeod brings up a good point there. Heisman-worthy performance without his top wide receiver. That didn't even cross my mind. That makes it even more of a legendary performance. Rolly season for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Says Coach Josh Heupel, his 3rd year at UCF was a COVID year, so they didn't have a bye week. Okay, so that makes sense. So no bye week for the COVID year. So 2-0 at Central Florida, 1 after the bye week last week. So 3-0 overall. So we'll see if we can make that 4-0 after the bye week this week. Doofus Puncher for 10. Thank you for the super chat. He's the right hook. Man, I see you guys talking about Hendon Hooker and Josh Dobbs in the chat. Somebody asked me just recently,
who I thought was better, I think it's Hendon Hooker, because Josh Dobbs, they're so similar running the football. And you talk about the big run he had Saturday against Florida. The way that he got behind Princeton Fant, and Fant was blocking, and you had a Florida defender to the left. And typically, it's like you're either going to go right or left, and either way, you're going to probably get tackled right there. But he fakes right enough to get that defensive back over so Princeton Fant can block both guys. Then he makes the way he puts that foot in the ground and then cuts. There are so many highlights of him doing that. And he just looks so much like Josh Dobbs, the way they make plays with their feet. But when it comes to throwing the football, I think Hendon Hooker has more accuracy than Josh Dobbs has. I truly do think he's overall a better quarterback. But we're talking about Heisman Trophy candidates. Mark Wilson for 2, thank you for Super Chat. Mark Wilson 2 for 5, thank you for Super Chat. Ravens fan since 98. Sorry, Titans. Ravens got my heart first. Shout out to Lamar. I just can't watch the NFL. And I know it's 2 reasons. Number 1, I was a Redskins fan, and they're terrible. And then they changed the name, and I'm like, I'm not buying all new Washington, whatever they're called, merchandise.
Commanders.
So I bailed out. But on the flip side of that, man, fantasy football ruined the NFL for me, because I found myself watching the Redskins. It's like, all right, let's go out and win today, but I hope Ray Lewis has 17 sacks so I can win my fake little fantasy trophy. And it just killed the game. Anyway, back to the Heisman Trophy conversation. You look statistics-wise. Again, and it's about more than statistics. It's about wins, losses, moments. We talked about that. But statistically, and I know these are hard to see. It's as big as I can blow up the SEC passing leaders on the screen. Hendon Hooker leading the way with QB rating. Again, and it's not even close. That he's dominant. You can see there KJ Jefferson second, Will Levis, Bryce Young. And Bryce Young's the competition, right? That's what everybody wants to talk about, is head-to-head Hendon Hooker and Bryce Young. And for me, some of it, and I don't know if this is even a factor, but when I look at who should win the Heisman Trophy, I think it should be the MVP. I think it should be the guy that is the most valuable to his team. If Bryce Young goes down, plug and play. He's got 5 stars all around him. The defense, everything's going to be fine. Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, he's the MVP. He is the heartbeat of this football team. And I know Joe Milton's looked good when he comes in. He's looked good. I'm excited about his future. I hope he has a redemption story in 2023. But this heartbeat is Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to know the key on this page right here. You look in the interception column, you see a big 0 next to Hendon Hooker's name, and 2 for Bryce Young. So I'm just saying, if you want to look, I mean, if at the end of the season, Hendon Hooker has more pass yards, more completions, better QBR, and less interceptions than Bryce Young, I don't think it should be a question. Unfortunately, the way it goes, if Alabama still goes and to the playoff, ESPN might hype Bryce Young up more just because it's Alabama. We've seen that happen before, obviously, with the Heisman. But I mean, personally, in the SEC, I don't think there's another quarterback in the SEC that can challenge Hendon Hooker for the Heisman if Tennessee plays, how they have, and they continue winning games. Even if they drop 2 or 3, you still have to like his chances. And like you said, it puts more of a spotlight on him when he has to put the team on his back, like yesterday, and just make these unreal plays. Like we saw Josh Dobbs do. But the problem is, or the difference is rather, that Hendon Hooker is just more consistent. He's just more consistent. He can make plays with his arm and his legs, and it's just constant, man. It's just constant Hendon Hooker making plays no matter what. So.
Knoxville Predator catcher for 5. Thank you for Super Chat. If Dobbs can end the season with 40 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, Dobbs is in the NFL. So let's talk about Hendon Hooker. Yeah. If Hendon Hooker can end the season with 40 touchdowns and 0 interceptions and doesn't win the Heisman, we riot at dawn.
40 and slip there.
I don't think you're getting to 40 and 0. Look, he's going to turn the ball over eventually. It's going to happen. But, you look at the numbers last year, and 31 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and it's like, man, can he keep that going? Like, can he? And then here we are 4 weeks into the season, 8 touchdowns and still no interceptions. I mean, that you talk about a key stat for a quarterback that just does not turn the football over. It's so important. It's so important.
It's huge. And when was the last time, Tennessee ever had a quarterback that efficient? I mean, you rarely see a quarterback, whether he's in a system like this or not, just not throw interceptions. I mean, it's a rare deal. So to have him be that way, and I mean, he's on the track for, what is it, 3,600 yards on the season right now? I mean, and he hasn't even played, he's played, or he's been out of the game a game's worth of quarters. He's been out 4 quarters against Ball State and Akron, like not even playing the whole time. So when we get in those bigger games where he has to be out there the whole time and he has to, what no matter what our defense is doing, go out there and drive down the field and score, what are we going to see those numbers do? I mean, you have to think that he's going to keep taking care of the football, and those interceptions are going to happen. I don't think he's going to get 0 interceptions on the season. That's a little crazy. We don't need to freak out if he throws 1 or 2 over the next season. That's still ridiculous. I mean, you look at Josh Dobbs, and he threw quite a few interceptions in a season, but we loved him, and he was a good quarterback for us. But I mean, yeah, you have to think that his numbers are just going to get crazier and crazier throughout the season. Already has 8 touchdowns. I think he's going to be over 30, but we'll see. We'll see where that ends up being later in the season.
Somebody there in the chat asking what the number is up to now for consecutive passes without an interception. I can't remember where it's pretty. Was it like 185 going into the game? So I can't.
I think it was like exactly 216 after the game or something like that. There's over 200,
about right. Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
And I can't remember, did he break the record for that? But he's also about to break Heath Schuler's record. He's about to break Heath Schuler's record for consecutive games with a touchdown. I think he's at 16 now, and Heath Schuler's at 18. I just don't see him not breaking that record. We'll see how that plays out. Rolly season, that's how I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say Rolly season. That's what I'm going with. Becomes a member of the channel, joins at Talkin VAWLS Elite. That's 3 elite members today, guys. We appreciate that support. If you're not a member, why not? I think it's Buck in the chat that says, if you don't have the power T beside your name, you're a Florida fan. So you gotta join the channel. That's how we're going to bring you more content, more morning shows. We're going to bring you more shows for Monday morning. And look, if you guys keep supporting, we'll maybe try to do some morning shows on Thursday, Friday. We got the Tuesday night, tomorrow night, 6:30 or 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night. Fan call-in show. That's where you guys, the members of the channel, have an opportunity to come on, talk Tennessee football. Maybe you'll be like Gabriel and you'll win over the chat. And then, look, you're sitting here on Monday hosting Talkin VAWLS Live with Boogie. You never know what's going to happen. But the more people that join this channel, you get to have some fun with the fan call-in show. But it also supports what we're trying to do, so we would appreciate that. But I think we're right at an hour. I think that's going to wrap it up. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this morning. Shout out to Gabriel for jumping on and being my wingman today. Had a good conversation. Enjoyed going back and forth. Rolly season for 2. You got it right. Rolly season. All right. You didn't have to drop a super chat for that, but I do appreciate the tip in the tip jar. Again, we'll be live tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be live on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Myself, Dauber. We'll see if JP is available. I'm not sure what we're going to do Wednesday night, but we'll let you guys know. No, we're not going to do a stream on Saturday with no game. We're going to take the weekend off, spend time with family, then we'll bounce back. Next week's going to be another huge week, getting ready for LSU. Got some recruiting news coming your way, but that is going to do it for this one. Thank you guys for hanging out. 350 people watching live as we wrap up. Go hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up on the way out the door. We would greatly appreciate it. He's Gabriel. My name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.